Wine. It's simply crushed and fermented grapes. The variations in the stories are what make it so fascinating. Vineyard practices like trellising methods, dry farming or irrigating, fertilizing, cover crops, biodynamic practices, head pruning, using sheep and goats and insectiaries. There are so many varieties of grapes, and then different clones and different root stocks. The variations in wine are beyond comprehension, and the stories behind the wines are as lush and beautiful as the wines themselves. Our goal at Grape Chronicles is to explore and chronicle the grape, its many stories, and its journey from dirt to glass. The property that, like, I mean, I know that because you're farming, and you set it up as biodynamic here.
I
mean,
did.
That was after you came here.
Well, it was, I set it up as an employee. I started, I took over all the work in the vineyards, running the vineyards, and I started working, with actually I was motivated by the Pheloxera.
Oh.
We were seeing some vine loss due to Pheloxera, and I thought, how are we going to combat this?
Right.
Just ripping it out and replanting was not a viable option. So then I started learning about soil microbiology and how that impacted the whole interplay of in the root system, and how it, in a way, mitigated the effects of Pheloxera. So we moved more and more into organic, and went kind of cold turkey into organic. And the biodynamic stuff, when I worked for the wholesale importer, I managed portfolios out of Europe, and I started noticing that the wines I liked the best were biodynamic. What was that about? And I'd had a friend after college had gone to a farm in Findhorn, Scotland, and spent 8 months there, and came back just totally blown away by the agriculture. It was all biodynamic on what it was, this sort of rocky, fringed farm. They turned it into this incredibly abundant place. So I knew about it, but there wasn't any real, there weren't any good books. There wasn't, where do you go for it? And I found there were only 2 places in the United States that had training at that time. And it was a little college in New York State, and they had a course that was once a month for 9 months, and then a 5-day intensive. So I took that to learn about how to do it, and started trying it out here, and had tremendous results right away. So it was by the time I bought the business, and our first growing season was 2006. I was doing a lot of biodynamic work all over here. I'd been kind of playing around with it, but that freed me up to make the investment. And then by 2008, we were certified, and we've been doing it ever since. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I find that a lot of the wineries that I love best also are biodynamic.
Yep.
And it's interesting because going into and looking in all the studies and stuff, it's kind of, you go into looking at biodynamics going, well, I like the results, but I'm kind of skeptical about all the process.
Yeah.
Because I know winemakers that swear by, their leaf days and their,
Sure.
that kind of stuff. And then I see other people like, okay,
Yeah.
that. But,
Yeah.
something, it's the care that you're putting into the soil and into the plants, and
Yeah.
it's the attention to detail.
It's more about agriculture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the agriculture.
Yeah.
I grew up with the Mother Earth News on the table
Sure.
all the time,
Right.
with my dad. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, the biodynamic practices were established as agricultural practices.
Right.
So there wasn't any talk about winemaking. So biodynamic winemaking, it's just an extension of the thought process. The calendar days and all, they're a nice guideline. There are clearly things you don't do. For example, last year when we had the total eclipse of the sun, at this time of year, I always plant. I have a big garden, good vegetable garden, and I always plant my fall vegetables. So I planted 2 weeks before the eclipse, 1 row of all my fall escargots and endives and things, and then I do a second one a couple weeks later. And the second one was the day before the eclipse. Mm-hmm. And I had read that for a total eclipse, you don't do anything for a couple days on either side. And it was a gorgeous day, and I knew the next day we'd be out looking at the eclipse and gone, and I just wanted to get this stuff in. So I planted the second row on the Saturday before within probably 24 hours. The first row came up beautifully. The second row, I had maybe 15% germination.
Yep.
Nothing different. Soil, water, seed, everything the same. I go, okay.
Plants, like everything else in the planter, are kind of freaking out with the eclipse. So,
Totally. So
There you go.
big events like that are really significant. Blackout days, we don't pick on blackout days. We try to avoid all that stuff. Pruning, we have to prune from January 1st until March 20th, and it's all got to be done.
Yeah.
So we don't take days off, blackout or not, leaf day or not. And in terms of tasting and racking, I don't know. I just pay attention to see if it makes a big difference or not.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But most of it is about what you do in the field. And 80% of winemaking is done in the vineyard anyway. It's all about the quality of the fruit you get. And I think that's why it's perceptible but not understood why biodynamic wines have that certain something that's, you put them in your mouth, they're lively, they're interesting, they're there, they have a presence, but what is it? You can't measure it. There's so much in life we can't measure anyway, so it's some sort of life force that we're creating in the vineyard, in the farm to begin with, that translates through the vineyard, through the fruit, into the bottle. And that's what I think it is. And you can't measure that.
Yeah.
You
Wonderful.
can taste it.
Yeah, you
hopefully.
sure can. You sure can.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking some time with us.
Oh, sure.
I appreciate it.